I think the difficulty is trying to trust them when you give them money that they're going to spend it in the right ways.
90% of people walk past them as if they're not even there.
I think it's quite easy to overlook the problem because a lot of people don't really realise that actually so many people are vulnerable to this, falling into this situation.
No, I can't trust them at all, unfortunately, you know.
I think we are one of the most callous, inconsiderate nations going. We won't do anything, we would rather walk by. We might think, oh, they're professional beggars. So really, yes, I think we overlook the homeless people dreadfully.
We don't believe them, we don't help them, we don't even see them. Over the last year, homelessness has increased by 50%. More and more people are living like this. And it can happen to anyone.
5 years ago, I set up my own business. I had 3 organic farms. We started off on one farm and it was really successful, and we got another one and another one, and the people that we had coming to work with us were all out of treatment centres. And then I ended up relapsing and using drugs again, and then I'm back on the street and back to square one, basically, do you know what I mean? The worst is people come over and stamp all over my candles, kick them all over the place, call me a junkie, tell me to get a job, call me just say get a fucking job, you know, all that kind of business. Or when I'm playing my harmonica, just tell me to shut the fuck up. Yeah, you get that quite a lot, really, you know what I mean? Being totally blanked is quite infuriating, actually. In some ways, I'd rather someone turn around and say, no, I don't give money away, do you know what I mean? Or no, I can't afford it, or, you know what I mean? But when people just totally ignore you, like that's like, makes you feel really quite subhuman, do you know what I mean? As if you don't exist.
After having spoken to some of the homeless people around Nottingham, the worst part of the whole experience isn't sleeping rough, it's not the lifestyle, it's the abuse. It's the way they're treated by people walking past them. So, to highlight that, I'm going to take some time out on the street and find out exactly how it feels to be treated that way. And, to make it as legitimate as possible, we're going to try using this. So, to make sure I stay unnoticed on my time in the streets of Nottingham, this is how we're going to try and stay undercover. We've got ourselves a coffee cup, we've got our GoPro, we've stuffed it full of tissue paper, we've cut a hole in the side, and I'm hoping that with it arranged just like that, and with the lid on, people may not notice what it is I'm getting up to. I can have that in my hands at all times, I can keep it focused on people when I know what I'm looking for, and, worst comes to worst, I can pretend it's a cup of coffee. Now, I'm not going to lie, when we went out earlier on, I was not hugely comfortable with the idea of what we were going to do. I didn't think this cup would cover it, I didn't think that I'd get away with it. But you know what? There's no way anybody would have noticed. I could have had a camera in my hands, considering the amount of attention I got. Other than a couple of dirty looks, I was ignored completely. And it was kind of horrible. I wasn't asking people for anything, I wasn't touching people, I wasn't going up to people. I was just sat there, and yet all I got was horrible looks and completely ignored, and it's horrible. But it's eye-opening. It's very interesting to see how that happens out there. And I can understand why Tom said you feel subhuman. You do, you feel like you're not equal to these people. Being ignored may hurt the most, but it's not what might kill you.
I think the three key things that do affect the immune system for homeless people are perhaps lack of sleep or the wrong types of sleep. Malnutrition certainly has an effect, and malnutrition in fact is one of the biggest causes of immune deficiencies worldwide. So malnutrition is a really key player in how an individual's immune response will be affected. If homeless people are malnourished, then there's quite a possibility that they will be ill for longer because they haven't got a sufficient or effective immune system to enable them to fight against those particular microbes that are causing them to be ill. So there was a study on tuberculosis in homeless people, and that showed that 1 in 50 homeless people actually suffer from TB. That's 25-fold higher than the rest of the population, so it shows that being homeless certainly has some effect on your potential risk factor to developing a variety of infectious diseases, and potentially may be one of the reasons why there's an increased mortality rate for homeless people.
Homelessness is a terrifying thing, but there are kind-hearted people out there, and they are willing to help.
Personally, I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 months, but the Nottingham mission's been in progress in Nottingham for about 2 years, so it's going well. I think it started with a group of volunteers, friends from the Sikh temple, just literally getting together and thought it was a good idea to give something back to the community. I'd probably say there's probably about 80% of the people that come here are regulars, effectively. And they're the people that kind of need our help the most. So, you know, they rely on us to be here, and, you know, if we're not here for one reason, then you've got 70 or 80 disappointed people that are going to be hungry and cold at night.
Unfortunately though, food is not the only thing that some homeless are searching for, and those needs can't be solved by Good Samaritans.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, I started drugs when I was, I started on heroin when I was 15. I'm 31 now, so that's 16 years. That's more than half my life and all of my adult life. So it's like I almost don't know anything different, you know. I mean, it's been on and off, like, and it's not just been heroin. I mean, like, a lot of the times when I'm doing well for myself, like, you know, whenever I've been running the farms, for example, I've been using other opiate substitutes. You know what I mean? But God, yeah, you know, it's a life sentence.
One of the reasons why the life expectancy for people that are rough sleeping is so low is because they are, as well as the fact that you're exposed to the elements and that's not good for you, that a lot of people that are rough sleeping have other kind of underlying addictions and other health issues. By people, very well-meaning people will see these people and give money to them, but that just facilitates them to buy the drugs, to buy their alcohol, and to maintain a lifestyle that is really, really poor for them, because these are people who, through whatever circumstances, whether that be their addiction, whether it be the state of the mental health that they're in now, whether the two are combined, these are people who can't make worthwhile choices in relation to their own life anymore. They've gone beyond that point. And there are a number of people who, even though that's a terrible choice from their point of view, the choice that they would prefer to make is in relation to their addiction rather than their own well-being. One very tragically managed to set fire to himself because he was soaked in alcohol and he discarded a cigarette.
Ignored, subhuman, life sentence. It may seem there's no way out for someone like Tom. And it may seem like no one even cares. But attending events like the Big Sleep Out give hope.
But yeah, so you do see quite a lot of homeless people on the streets, and obviously at this time of year, you really feel for them. So we really felt we wanted to do something like this, just to raise awareness and to experience it. Really,
it makes you realise what it's actually like, and sort of puts you in their shoes for a bit.
Yeah, the whole thing will just raise awareness for their situation.
Yeah.
I think that there's been more and more in recent years because of the cuts, and it's just quite a sad situation. So we really wanted to do something to help.
I think ultimately it's Framework's job to tackle homelessness, and ultimately at the end of that we'd aspirationally hope to cause an end to homelessness. But I think that the thing that we know is that homelessness has always been with us. The vision in Nottingham is very, very effective, but our sleepless team are seeing more people who need to come for support.
And that support is out there. Groups like Once We Were Soldiers offer people a path to salvation.
So we have to keep persevering. We'll walk on down this way, I think.
Basically, after serving in the army myself, I came out with a few problems. I became technically homeless, living on a sofa with a newborn baby, and also during my time in the army I lost the plot completely. And then on the way out of the army I ended up in a mental health hospital for about a couple of months, and then for like 12 years I was like in a dark hole. Couldn't get out of it, and eventually I did, and then realised that I just didn't want people to sort of like fall in the same trap as me. I mean, since then my marriage has broke up, I'm divorced, I've got a partner now who looks after me. What the army tried to do before you leave is to give you a health bill, sort of like, so you're 100% fit. But the guys, you know, that they see things in places like Afghanistan and stuff like that, and what people don't realise, I mean, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, it's only sort of starting really to be recognised, and what some people don't understand is that it can take up to 3 years for it to actually start to develop. So when the guys are finally out of the army and have lost that support, something will trigger this PTSD, and then that's it, they're back down to square one, and then arguments happen in the household. The wife doesn't understand what's going on, the husband doesn't understand what's going on, he gets kicked out into his car onto the streets, and that's when we step in. I found guys and put them into homes, and we've both like hugged and cried. You know, it's actually quite an emotional process, and I think every case is like a success really. Anyone off the streets is a success, so making me tearful.